So some decent dining for the animals there, but millions of tons of food is nevertheless being wasted every single day. So to talk about what might be done about it, we're joined by Shenggen Fan, Director General of the International Food Policy Research Institute. Welcome to the show.
Well, great. It's a good opportunity to have a dialogue with you.
Great. Well, let's start with your reaction to the EU's decision to try and halve food waste by 2030. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we must applaud this effort. I know it's not legally binding, but it will create some momentum, increase awareness. But that goal is very similar to many other countries' commitment. The Sustainable Development Goals, number 12, is to reduce food waste for loss by 50% from now to 2030. The US government had a similar commitment.
So clearly it's a global commitment, but as you mentioned, this is a non-binding decision. So do you think it goes far enough?
Well, I think it's a good start, but more needs to be done. We can make our citizens aware. We can innovate technologies. We can innovate the new ways of doing business. So I truly believe we can do it. We can cut down our food waste, food loss by 50%, even more by 2030.
And as we heard some of the staggering numbers when it comes to the amount of food that's wasted, according to the EU Commission, they're saying around 88 million tons of food wasted annually within the EU. So when we look at the cost of having these food programs versus the savings they actually give in the long term, where's the balance?
Well, I think initially, when we try to cut down the food waste, food loss, the cost will be very small. For example, increase awareness through modern technology, communication technologies to change consumers' behavior. I don't think that will cost you much money, but it will save huge amount of resources, huge amount of food. For example, in UK, they launched a program in 2007. So from 2007 to 2012, 5 years, the UK has saved more than $1 billion a year for their consumers. So the benefit is huge, tremendous.
And you mentioned the UK. In some parts of the UK, in fact, you actually have to recycle your food. They provide you with a little container. So in terms of some of the countries who are really getting it right, and perhaps those who need to do a bit more work, who are the real standouts for you?
Well, even China. 2 years ago, I wrote a New Year resolution in the China Daily. China has great potential to reduce food waste, food loss. The Chinese government launched an initiative called Clean Your Plate. So everybody is supposed to finish what they have ordered, what they have prepared. And if you cannot pack your food, bring them home to consume. I thought that was a great idea. I think if we continue to do that, it will save lots of money. And here in the US, a similar thing can be done. For example, how can we really reduce the portion of the service? And we can use container to pack the food, to bring them home.
So it really does seem like it's coming down to a lot of forethought, so that if you don't end up buying as much and you really pay more attention to the amount of food you're putting on your plate, then you'll be less likely to waste it.
Absolutely, yes. A better planning, using modern tools to purchase what you can really consume. And if you cannot consume your food by the end of the week, you can share your food with others or donate them to food banks.
Now, let's also touch on sometimes the unintended consequences of food waste. We know that recently a truck that was carrying red Skittles candy overturned on the US highway, and people actually were surprised to find out that these candies were actually crushed up and sometimes turned into syrup and used as feed for cattle. Now, this is actually a practice that's quite common. But then some animal rights activists are wondering, well, if you're changing this diet to this very unnatural diet for cattle, what does that do for the food supply? So tell us about some of the potential fallout when people do try and make an effort to curb food waste.
Well, this is a different issue. That's probably food safety issues. So what we consume, what we eat, must be safe and has to be regulated, has to be proved by the government. It is safe to eat, it is nutritious to eat, it is healthy to eat. So that's another dimension of the food waste, food loss. So it's not just a waste, it's not just a loss, and also the good health, good nutrition component of what we eat.
Definitely lots to keep in mind. Thank you so much. Shenggen Fan, Director General of the International Food Policy Research Institute. Thank you for joining us.